Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Influence Economy. I'm your host, Shayna Davis. I'm so glad that you're here today. But before we get started, I would love if you could do me a favor. So, wherever it is that you're listening to this episode, I want you to take a screenshot. With that screenshot, I want you to post it on your social media, tag us here at Shayna Rattler Davis, and then I just want to hear your biggest aha moment or your biggest takeaway from this episode. And the reason why I do that is because, in my opinion, I feel like far too many women are seen and not paid well, but they don't necessarily know where to start and how to fix that. So, the more times that these episodes are shared, the more that they can be exposed to the shifts that are going to be required in order for them to own their influence. So I thank you in advance for being willing to share. Well, I am excited about my guest today. I've known her for a while. I've been on the other side of the mic on her platform as well. And she's always up to big things and making sure that other people, well, those that want to come along, if you want to stay stuck, that's your business. But she's committed to helping those that will come along to the other side on the good side. So I'm going to read her bio and then we're going to get started for what I know is going to be a fabulous conversation. So, my guest today is the award winning, iconic, and incomparable two-time Inc. 5000 CEO of Incredible One Enterprises, LLC, a multi-million dollar coaching and consulting brand. Best known for transforming the lives of her business coaching clients and live event attendees, she equips her clients to leverage and scale businesses that serve them financially and spiritually. In fact, over the last 10 years, she has helped her clients generate more than $500 million in sales and more than $488 million in revenue. By teaching her award winning Move to Millions method, she helps her clients collapse the amount of time it takes them to cross the multi-million dollar mark, all while deepening their connection to God and strengthening their faith. She's been featured in Forbes, Success, TEDx, Essence, NBC, Fox News, and Oprah Magazine, and shared stages with some of the biggest names in business. But beyond the accolades, she's a master at turning obstacles into opportunities and helping leaders own their power profitably. Plus, she's got a personal story that will blow your mind. She may get into some of that. She is a seven-time best-selling author, the creator of five powerful business systems, and the host of the Move to Millions podcast. I'm so excited to welcome to the show Darnyelle Jervey Harmon.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm so excited to be here, Shayna. I'm so excited.
Yes. So, here at the Influence Economy, we're all about helping women to own their influence and really be able to win on their terms.
Yeah.
And I do believe that a big part of winning financially is figuring out how you scale. But unfortunately, I feel like that has become such a buzzword that it's losing its power. Half the stuff that people are talking about scaling is like that is absolutely, excuse me, not even how you should be thinking about this. And so
Right.
when I started mapping out my themes for the year for my content for the show and I started thinking about scaling, obviously you're the very first person that I thought of, not just because I know you and I love you, but because I know that you're the freaking best and I don't want anybody but the best. So
Yeah.
I would love if you could start the conversation off by like giving us like what is the real meaning behind scaling and where are most entrepreneurs getting it wrong?
Yeah. Thank you so much for all of the amazing things that you said. Scaling is one of the most misused terms in business. Scaling itself is the act of multiplying, duplicating, and replicating a series of strategies and systems in order to increase your results and your revenue. The thing that bothers me about scaling being misused in the marketplace is that it's used widely for people who are not even at six figures yet. And I hear people say all the time, I just want to scale my business to six figures. You do not scale to six figures because, first of all, getting to six figures is the easiest thing you could ever possibly do. And most of the people who get to six figures do it by accident. They were not purposefully or intentionally trying to get to six figures. They did one thing, it happened to work, and before they knew it, they had six figures, which means that they don't likely actually know what they might multiply, duplicate, or replicate. They're still trying to figure so many things out. So, scaling actually comes into play. If I had to put a dollar amount on it, I would say once a business is doing around $300,000 to $400,000 a year, a few things have happened. Number one, they've proven concept. Number two, they have validated their solution and they have gotten people results. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made $300 to $400,000. They've done whatever it is that they want to be known for enough to have some predictability in the results that they actually can create. And they can likely begin the process of tracing the steps that they've taken in order to produce that $300,000 or $400,000, especially when they've done it 2 to 3 years in a row, which is typically the clients that we see. They've been stalled at 300 to 400,000. They know they have a seven-figure business, but they're missing an important part of the process, and that's what ultimately brings them to me. And then we can look at what's going on in their business's infrastructure to see where the opportunities are to streamline, as well as to see where the opportunities are to multiply, duplicate, or replicate something that they've been doing on a grander scale so that they can bring on more results and revenue at one time.
What I love about what you're saying is that most things work if you work them, but so many of us are doing things out of order. I can remember being at an event several years ago, and I was an attendee, but I just couldn't deal with the madness anymore. So I kind of was like, "Can I say something?" Like literally right in the middle of the event. And it was bothering me because most of the people that were in the room were very early on in their business, and
Yeah.
they wanted to ask questions about Facebook ads and all this other stuff. And I was like, here's the problem. You've read something or you've heard somebody tell you that this is what they're doing or this is what you should do. But if you start focusing on the wrong things at the wrong time, it's at the time I was building a house. I said it would be the equivalent of if the architects or the builders of my house started focusing on the roof and the walls before the foundation, and then they
Right.
came back every day trying to figure out why what they had just built was back on in the dirt again. And so
Yeah.
I love what you're saying about like there's a certain point in your business that you have to get to before even scaling, comes about. And I also love that you're saying like before that point, you don't even really know what you're doing. You don't even really know what it is that your people want. Dare I say, many people probably don't even know who you are or what it is that you stand for, and yet you're already trying to get to like point Z. And so, are there certain non negotiables that we have to have in place outside of the dollar amount? Are there non negotiables that we should have in place like before we're even truly ready to scale?
Absolutely. Your strategy should be sound, right? In strategy, there are actually 10 components that we recommend be included in what we encapsulate as strategy. So, number one, you need to be really, really clear on your pinnacle client. Who is the person that I'm solving, no, serving? Number two, what is the problem that they have? And we call this a spice problem. Number three, what is the promised solution that I can bring to the market for them? Number four, how am I packaging that solution? Number five, how am I positioning that solution? Number six, how am I going to promote that solution? Number seven, how am I going, I forgot to say pricing, how am I going to price that solution so that ultimately, number eight, I can experience profitability? What's my plan as it pertains to that particular solution? And then what is my public relations strategy? And public relations is different than promotion. So, how am I using all of these 10 things in order to have a strategy that is well defined, well encompassed, and that actually produces the result that I want every single time I show up for the strategy? And then ultimately, how can I begin to position myself to automate said strategy so that I don't have to start from scratch every time I decide I want to make money? So, the first thing is the strategy. The second thing is your sales infrastructure. Like most people start selling one to one and they sell one-on-one services, which is fine. We all have to cut our teeth and get really, really clear on our solution. But
Mhm.
honestly, after you've served 10 clients and you've helped 10 clients get the result that you are known for with your framework of methodology, you're ready to move into leverage at that particular point in time. And leverage just means you're collapsing the amount of time because you're going from serving one at a time to serving one to many. When we stay one-on-one too long, that really does inhibit our ability to be able to scale. So we need to have a process that we can serve clients one to many, and we need to have a sales infrastructure that supports us in actually bringing on more than one client at a time. And then the third thing that we need off the cuff before scaling should even be a word that comes out of your mouth is you need to have some clear systems. And when I say systems, I'm talking first about the standard operating procedures and the standard automation procedures, as well as I'm talking about the software that you are utilizing in order to automate many of the things that will become what happens every single time something shows up inside of your business. And specifically, you want to have some general operation systems, you want to have some client onboarding and management systems, you're going to have some marketing management systems, some sales management systems, some financial management systems, some legal management systems. And then as you start to build a team, you want to have some talent management systems. Those three are the prerequisites. Over time, as a part of that, you will also begin hiring a team and building out your support. I always recommend that the first year you're in business, and I know we're not talking to first year people because they're scaling, you should do everything except for the legal and financial things in your business. But by year two, you should be on to actually starting to employ people to take things off your plate so that you, as the CEO, can actually strategically preside over the business. If you are the CEO and you still have to be present for the company to earn money or the service to be delivered, you're not ready to scale. And so you want to make sure that you're hiring administrative support team, but you also want to replace yourself as a service provider and start hiring talent team. And then eventually, once you have a strong, sound talent team that's producing the result based on your framework and methodology without you having to be present, you want to start building out a leadership team and bringing on a director of operations, a director of marketing, a director of sales, and a director of client success. Those four levels are going to then ultimately put you in a position where you don't even have to be in your business. You certainly shouldn't need to be there every single day, but you might be able to just float in as the talent, but you don't actually have to be present in order for the business to earn, for clients to get transformation, or for you to actually put money in the bank and continue to do whatever it is that you do for your clients.
One of the things that I know that you're big on is, us being profitable and sustainable. And
Yes.
so every single one of the things that you mentioned are important, many of them equally important. And
Yeah.
so what do we put in place, or what are some of the key frameworks or systems that we have in place to make sure that while we're following this model to accomplish this scalability that we don't burn out?
Yeah, and I think that that's so important, right? We expanded our Moves to Millions method last year to add in self-care as a pillar as well as soul leadership because I've started to realize that we were missing something that was really, really critical. And the goal of business is to cash out before you burn out. And that's going to be made possible, number one, by having tight systems and processes, and number two, having support team, having people who are actually helping you in the process. I believe in the old school Stephen Coveyism. I believe in the old school Stephen Coveyism to set an end to your day and to begin with the end in mind. And so I don't purpose myself to work, I don't even work. I barely work 8 hours a day. Now that I think about it, probably work 6.5 hours a day, most days, right? But I absolutely am not working 10 and 12 and 14 and 16-hour days because grinding just makes you tired. It doesn't make you millions. And so it's important as you are looking at the pricing and the infrastructure for your business that you have a healthy amount of profit, because that profit, not only is it how we keep scoring business, it's going to give you the resources that you need to build out a team so that you don't burn out before you can cash out. I recommend for service-based businesses that you have a minimum of 60% profit on everything, and profit at the transaction level. So whatever program or product you are selling, 60% on top of your direct calls, your general and administrative costs, your overhead, your active time that you spent in creating that product or service, you want at least 60% on top of that. By ideally, you want 75 to 80% on top of that, because that's going to give you money enough beyond your overhead and all of the things that will make sure you can pay taxes or at least put money aside for taxes. It's going to give you money to actually begin putting money into a payroll account so that you can start to build up to hiring team members, actual employees that support you, and not necessarily just contractors that work with you on a project basis.
I'm listening to what you're saying, and I realize that there's probably a big myth that is out there that many of us have subscribed to, and I know that I surely have, that there's going to just be some seasons in your business where you just have to burn it from both ends of the candle. And that may be true. But if I'm listening to what you're saying, that may be true, like in that first year that you're like trying to master everything yourself. But what I'm hearing you say is that the goal is to get to a point that it doesn't matter if you're in the middle of launching something. It doesn't matter if, you have more things on the calendar, for this period of time in the business than others. You still should not be working 18, 12, 40 hours a day.
Listen, I am never going to advocate for that. So here's the thing. There might be times in your business where you are working more than others, but can we be honest that usually the reason you're working more is because you're not as productive as you could be during the day? Right? When we were in corporate America, we called them stop and chats. We would get up to go to the water closet. And while we were doing so, we would make all of these stops on our way back to our seat, right? In entrepreneurship, we call it scrolling on social media. Like we are spending good revenue generating time doing activities that don't generate revenue because we feel like, I remember when I was in corporate America, they called it FaceTime, right?
Mhm.
When I first started, they were like, you've got to just be here 12, 14, 16 hours a day so that the powers of B see you so that they think of you when you get a promote, like when you're ready to be promoted. And I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense, right? And the same thing is in entrepreneurship. Like the whole reason why I quit my good job to become an entrepreneur is because I didn't want to have to punch a clock 9 to 5. And like today, for instance, I got into the office at 11 and I'm still here right now just because I'm having this conversation with you. But my workday was actually over at 5. I just kind of, did a couple other things because I'm like, oh, I'm going to hang out and talk with Shayna tonight. So, and I wanted to do
Yeah.
it in this backdrop as opposed to at my home, right? Because I have a work house, I have a house that we work from. And
Yeah.
so that's what the only reason why I'm still here. But the 2 hours in between us getting together to have this conversation, I was playing my game and I was talking to my boo thing and I was doing these other things that were not work. I was not sitting here thinking that I'm going to win some prize because I worked more hours. I believe that even when you are starting your business, you can set it into your day if you're productive. So instead of all of the virtual stop and chats to scroll on social media and to do those things, get your work done. Give your business the same respect you used to give your job. And if that means you only, especially like if you have children, right? If you have children and you want to be present for them from the moment they walk through the door from their school day, which depending upon where you are is anywhere from 3 to 4 p.m., and you don't want to get up at the butt crack of dawn to start your day. So let's say you only have 10 to 3 every single day to work. That's a what, 5 hour day, 6 hour day. That's plenty of time if you put systems and infrastructure in place and you take and you do the revenue generating activities first. The first 90 minutes of every single day should be the 90 minutes where you go and get your money. Whatever that means, though, following up on the people you need to follow up on, especially if you don't have a lot of other people on the team that are doing those things. See, I don't have to spend 90 minutes a day doing that because I've got a whole team that their job is 8 hours a day on business development. So
Yeah.
because of that, I get the freedom and flexibility to be having conversations with you or to be networking and attending events and doing things like that, which is ultimately what it means to be a CEO. So we glorify the title when we put it on our business card, but what it really means is that E is employee, it's not executive. Right. So
Yeah.
we're the chief employed officer of the company because all we've done is we've created a job for ourselves and we think that we're doing something to sit in the seat for 8 to 12 hours a day.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're really going to dive into the things that people probably don't necessarily think about when they consider scaling. But hold on, y'all. Y'all see why I brought her in? We'll be right back. Ready to turn your influence into income? Take the Influence Growth Assessment. In just minutes, you'll uncover the next steps to grow your visibility, attract bigger opportunities, and boost your profitability. Visit myinfluencestyle.com to take the assessment today. A new era of success is waiting. Let's make it yours. All right, welcome back. So Darnyelle and I are talking about how entrepreneurs can scale their businesses into the $1 million mark. She's the brainchild behind Move to Millions. And listen, If you're just listening, you go back and listen to all of it. Go back and listen to all of it again anyway. But I want to shift the conversation just a little bit because one of the things that I know for sure is that scaling is not just about strategy, but it's also who we become in the process. And so, what mindset shifts have to occur in order for a CEO to start to move into this 7 to 8 figure CEO
Oh
position?
gosh, Shayna, I mean, we could talk for 3 more episodes just on the mindsets that we have to have. So, like, here are the top ones. Number one, like there we have every single human has a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. And if presented with an option to win, your subconscious mind is the one that's going to win. So often what we find is consciously we're saying, I want a 7 figure business. I'm going to hit 7 figures. I should be at 7 figures. I'm a millionaire in the making, right? But subconsciously, we actually don't believe that we deserve and are worthy of 7 figures. And so we've got to make sure that we look at the blocks and the beliefs that we hold based on how we were raised, the things that we were taught, and what we caught from those who reared us, because those are the things that are actually running the show. And
Yeah.
so, very often, if I had to put a percentage on it, I would say maybe 85 or 90% of the time when I'm working with an entrepreneur that is in that three to $400,000 corridor, what I call the millions messy middle, a big part of the block is because they don't believe that they can have 7 figures, or they believe that 7 figures is a lot of money. As someone who makes 7 figures a year, I'm here to tell you it's not a lot of money. It feels like it. It feels so big, but it isn't. And if you hold the belief that it's a lot of money, then you will not hold the money in your life experience. And so, what we have to do is we have to normalize and expand our capacity for larger amounts of money. And that is often really hard because the average entrepreneur that wants to get to 7 figures is so used to having their head down on the grind, doing what they know to do at the price point that is working for them, the price point that makes them feel confident, although it might not be the value for the service that they're rendering and what they're bringing into the marketplace. I think about it, and we know, we both of us having done work in corporate. In corporate America, a 0.5% or 1% basis point shift is millions of dollars, right? In entrepreneurship, if you're working business to consumer, the same is true incrementally. If you can help somebody shift 1%, that is a big deal. But for whatever reason, when we're working business to consumer, we don't price ourselves accordingly. We don't price based on the result that we're offering them and allowing them to experience through us over a specified period of time. And I'm not even just suggesting lifetime. I usually tell my clients, I want you to think about this service this problem you're going to solve for them. And I want you to think about the impact of that problem being solved over the next 3 to 5 years. And I want you to price based on that, where they will likely be in 5 years if they keep using the solution you introduce them to now.
Yeah.
And when I do that, something flips. They're like, oh, because see, I was charging for my time. I'm thinking, okay, I worked in corporate America. I made $50 an hour. I'm an entrepreneur. $500 an hour is a 10x, right? Except we haven't taken into consideration that as entrepreneurs, we are now subject to 15.7% self employment tax, amongst other things. So the numbers might appear bigger, but they actually get smaller unless we understand and assess the value associated with the solution we're bringing to the table and not our time. Excuse me, let me clear my throat.
Yeah. While you're doing that, I want to share while I'm chuckling because you talked about, as a 7 figure, probably close to 8 figure earner at this point now, like you realizing that that's not a lot of money. And I'm chuckling to myself because I remember my very first job out of college, I was going to be making $63,000 a year. And this job was going to like pay for me to move from Memphis, where I was living at the time, to where the job was. So it was going to be 3 to 4 weeks. So I had a lot of time to like dream and calculate and map out. And I had mapped out, oh girl, like every time I get paid, I'm gonna buy a new outfit and new shoes, and I'm gonna do all these things and I'm gonna travel. Girl, about the third paycheck in, I was like, $63,000 a year is nothing.
Especially once FICA gets they cut. Did you know they taking theirs first? So it it slows down. I think about like, we of course have employees on our team and we're paying them 60,000 or 80,000, or, whatever they earn per year. And when I look at payroll and how much money they get, I'm like, whoo, okay, yeah, it sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. And so we have to change the way that we look at money so that everything can change. So that's probably the biggest mindset shift, the worthiness or the deserve level as it pertains to the money itself. The second biggest mindset shift is often as entrepreneurs, our business is our baby. We birthed that thing and we don't want to leave it with anybody. We want to be there when it first starts to walk and when it says its first words and when it goes to the potty. Like we want to be there for everything. Except if you have to be present for everything, you cannot scale. So the mindset that I could actually hire people who could even be better than I am at serving our clients, it messes with our ego. And we're not trying to hear that because we want to feel important and validated as the CEO of the company. So we have to recognize that the real flex in hiring is to hire people that are smarter than you. If you get a whole bunch of doers on your team that only do what you taught them to do, yeah, scaling's going to be hard
Yeah.
because they're only going to go to the point that you've taught them. You need people who can think beyond you, that bring a set of skill sets into the table that are beyond your scope and what you know to be true about your industry and that particular function on your team. And there is a price point associated with bringing in that level of talent. So we're going to have to flip mindset around that as well in order to be able to see that change. Those are typically the two biggest ones that I have to help our clients get is, first I got to believe that I am worthy of this seven figures because it just feels like it's such a big number. And the second is I can't afford to hire. But the truth is you can't afford not to hire if you want to scale, because if you were to scale your business to seven figures and you were the only service provider, you just got yourself a really good paying job. And you are never going to get to actually experience what entrepreneurship is supposed to be. And so those are the two biggest mindsets.
Ladies, as you're listening to this, I hope you recognize that while this is a podcast episode, that Darnyelle literally just gave y'all a whole master class. So I really do encourage you to go back and listen to this over and over again. When she talked about, the 8 things and some of the different frameworks, go back, write one down, pause it, write the next one down, and then ask yourself, like, where are you now? Where do you need to get to? Because many of the people that listen are ready,
Yeah.
to scale, and others, it's good for you to know what it is that you need to have in place so that you can begin to grow towards that now. And you are such a wealth of information that I know people are like, okay, after I digest this, I want some more. So the first question I have is, what social media would you like them to follow you on?
Yeah, follow me on Instagram. That's probably where I'm the most transient and active. So follow me on Instagram. Yeah, Instagram.
Okay, perfect. I'll make sure that they know how to get there. And then what would you like to offer if they want to take things further with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, whether you decide you want to, come into closer proximity with me or not, I will highly recommend that you go and get a copy of my book, Move to Millions, the proven framework to become $1 million CEO with grace and ease instead of hustle and grind. It's available wherever you buy books, Amazon.com. You can also go to movetomillionsbook.com. And then beyond that, I would invite you to go to movetomillions.com/freebies. There are several freebies, but the one I'm going to recommend for you is Am I Ready to Make the Move to Millions? It's an assessment that will ask you a series of questions about the various areas of your business and give you a very clear indication of if you're ready or if you need to go back to the drawing board, or maybe you need to come and spend a little time with me and my team so that we can help to equip you to get ready. We have a series of programs available at House of Millions, which is our suite of coaching and consulting services to support entrepreneurs and small business owners from $100,000 up to and beyond $3 million inside of their business.
So I'm going to tell you all that if you're not ready, yes, go get the book, whatever. But everybody else, like, find deeper ways to work with her. I'm just saying what I'm saying. I know her very well. One of the things that I'm very, very intentional about anyone that I bring on the show, because I do believe that there's a certain amount of trust that you have with me, that you trust who it is that I bring on here. And I promise that I will never bring anyone in here that can't speak well beyond sound bites. And then you get into their whatever, and then you're coming back to me like, who the heck was that person? They didn't know. So
Yeah.
here's what I'm going to tell you: spend the money to invest, to work with her in the different containers that she has. You absolutely will not be sorry. And if you are, I would say come tell me about it, but I don't know what's wrong with you. Sorry. So
No, thank
Darnell,
you.
I
I
thank you for
appreciate
being
that.
here. Yeah,
Yeah,
I thank you for being
absolutely.
here.
Anytime.
I know that these nuggets are going to be a huge hit, and everyone, don't just keep this to yourself. That we're not about gatekeeping over here at the Influence Economy. Clearly, she's not gatekeeping. She gave y'all a whole master class. So share, share, share this with every woman entrepreneur and even aspiring entrepreneur. I think that you ought to know what it is that you need to know well before you're into business. So share, share, share this far and wide. Go back and listen to previous and future episodes as well. Everyone have a great day. Bye bye.